South Korea's main opposition party is on track for a resounding victory in parliamentary elections, dealing a blow to the ruling party of President Yoon Suk-yeol and his administration.
The tally so far indicates the Democratic Party will retain majority of the 300-seat parliament. With almost all votes counted for seats that are directly elected, Yonhap News reports Democrats have won 161. The ruling People Power Party trails at 90. The numbers will bump a little with additional seats allocated based on proportion of votes secured. But Yonhap says it is not expected to elevate DP to the 200 needed for a supermajority.
The party is projected to have a total of 176 seats, which is short of 24. A supermajority gives powers to override vetoes, amend the constitution, and also impeach the president. The contrast was clear. Democrats celebrating early when exit polls suggested victory, while it was glum faces all around with the PPP.
민심의 뜻을 따르기 위한 정치를 하기 위해서 최선을 다했지만 출구조사 결과가 실망스럽습니다. 그렇지만 저희가 끝까지 국민의 선택을 지켜보면서 개표 결과를 지켜보겠습니다.
The election is seen as a midterm referendum on President Yoon. His ratings have suffered over a cost of living crisis and spate of political blunders. Opposition leaders say he mismanaged the economy and vowed to make him a so-called lame duck president for the remaining 3 years of his 5-year term.
Joining us now from Stanford University is Professor Gi-wook Shin, director of the Shorenstein Asia-Pacific Research Center and the Korea program at Stanford. Professor Shin, good morning. Thank you very much for joining us. I want to start with those exit polls projecting a majority for the opposition. I assume they are accurate. And I guess the more important question is, what is the result saying about Yoon Suk-yeol and his administration?
First of all, as you mentioned, Democratic Party made a landslide victory in the election. So that's really bad news for Yoon Suk-yeol because this outcome confirms that people's discontent with the Yoon Suk-yeol government and their performance for last 2 years. And now facing a large opposition in the parliamentary, it's a big challenge for Yoon and his government to run the country for the next 3 years.
Professor, according to the National Election Commission, 67% of eligible voters turned up to cast their ballot. That's apparently the highest ever turnout for a parliamentary election. Mm-hmm. Can we read something into that? Why were people in South Korea so engaged?
Right. So, as you mentioned, the voting rate was 67%. That's the highest since 1992. And both conservative and progressive, they really galvanized their supporters coming into votes. And certainly liberals, they were so unhappy with the current government. They really wanted to send a strong message to the ruling party. On the other hand, the ruling party and conservative, they were quite concerned about their leader getting into early lame duck. So they also mobilized their people. So if you look at the outcome, there's a very small little space for any third party. It's really between ruling and opposition party. And it shows, really deep political division, high political polarization. And I think that's what happened. So, in a sense, there wasn't really any policy debate. It's more like attacking the other side, even demonizing the other side, and then they fully mobilize their potential supporters. That's right. Why we saw very high voting rates.
Professor Shin, I mean, if I follow you correctly, you had the conservatives and the liberals voting as you would expect them to vote. But, we also know that both parties have struggled to offer strong policy solutions to South Korea's cost of living crisis? My understanding is that that's one of the biggest issues that South Koreans are facing right now. So how did the opposition keep its parliamentary majority and appeal, if you like, to that middle group, the moderates, who are, I suppose, are the most, influenceable, if you like, to policy changes and suggestions?
But once again, there was no major policy debates between ruling and main opposition parties. It's really the opposition party, they ran campaign, capitalizing on very strong anti-Yoon sentiment, and the ruling party didn't have any effective strategy to counter the opposition's attack. So once again, it's more like I would say kind of angry votes, resentment, and personal attack. And I'm quite worried about the future of Korean politics because this could have been a very good opportunity to debate major policy issues, but nothing like that happened. It's really attacking each other, demonizing each other, and I don't think it bodes very well for the future of Korea, Korean society.
Let's talk about what's happening inside the People Power Party, Professor. Will the ruling party continue to stand by Yoon Suk-yeol? Do you think they'll be looking for someone else to replace him as the face of the party?
I mean, Yoon Suk-yeol or Han Dong-hoon?
Yoon Suk-yeol.
Yoon Suk-yeol is president, and Han Dong-hoon was the leader of the party.
Okay, so where do you think the lines fall in the People Power Party? Does President Yoon still have support of those in his party?
I mean, he'll have some support, but I think there will be some tensions and maybe fights inside the ruling party, about the leadership, for the future. Han Dong-hoon became the leader for PPP, but then he failed to deliver victory, and then I'm sure Han and Yoon will get a lot of critiques from his party and then also conservative. So probably they will have to go through a very challenging time in the coming weeks and months, and to establish a new leadership for the party.
Okay, so which leads me to ask Professor Shin, as it stands, assuming President Yoon, will retain veto power of parliamentary bills. I mean, how does opposition control of the National Assembly complicate his agenda? Does it all come to a standstill, meaning he's effectively, powerless, a lame duck, as we like to call it?
Right. So, for last 2 years, what happened was that, opposition party, being the majority, they push for certain, policy agenda, and then oftentimes Yoon, vetoed. Some people saying it's like, vetocracy. And because opposition, failed to achieve 2/3 of the assembly, they won't be able to reverse, veto by the president. So, what's going to happen is that probably opposition keeps sending, passing bills, and then be more, aggressive in pushing for their policy agenda, and then you may have to, continue to veto, and then there'll be some stalemate in the parliamentary, session. So, once again, then it's very hard to implement any policy reform or agenda,
right?
In this kind of situation. I think that's what happened for the last 2 years, and then it's likely to continue in the coming 3 years.
Professor Shin, you mentioned voter dissatisfaction. South Koreans not happy about the current state of things, both the economy as well as in politics. I mean, is there a chance at all that lawmakers are hearing this and that the PPP and the DP might work together to address some of these domestic concerns? And there are many.
Well, yeah, that's my hope, and then that's my wish as well. But there's a very little space for moderates right now. Korean politics have become highly polarized, and then more extreme or radical voices, gain power, and then there's very small space for moderates. And then I hope that Yoon can be more willing to, I think, talk to opposition and compromise on certain agenda, but something that we have to see because that hasn't happened in the past. And as you know, Yoon has refused to meet with opposition leader Lee Jae-myung one-to-one for last 2 years. So that kind of tell you how bad Korean politics has become. And I don't see much hope, unfortunately.
We will have to watch. Thank you very much, Professor, for your analysis today. Professor Gi-wook Shin, Director of the Shorenstein Asia-Pacific Research Center and the Korea Program at Stanford University.